My love, I'm so sorry about the way my parents reacted. They weren't really in their best moods today. Please don't be mad, Sarah said to Larry as soon as she entered his apartment. Babe, I'm not mad. I don't know how, but a part of me already knew that your parents would reject me. I mean, if I lived in your world and my only daughter brought home a man like me, I'd be bothered, Larry said. No, babe, do not say that. There is absolutely nothing wrong with you, and it doesn't matter what world you come from. I chose you, and I want to spend the rest of my life with you, Sarah said. But that's not possible anymore. We cannot disobey your parents. You know what? So you do not ruin your relationship with your parents. I think we should break up. I do not want to be the person who comes between you and your parents. Please, Larry said. No, never! We will not break up. I do not care if my parents approve of this relationship. I will not break up with you, Sarah said in a stern voice. While Sarah was talking, she had no idea that Larry had already devised a plan, and he was only slowly manipulating her to accept his plan. Your parents are even lucky you are a good girl. I keep wondering what they would have done if you went to them with a pregnancy, Larry said. A pregnancy? They would have no other choice but to accept you. My parents are against abortions, Sarah answered casually. Babe, then let's go to them with a pregnancy. If they are really against abortions, then this is the only way to get me into the picture. Your parents wouldn't want their grandchild to be a bastard, would they? Larry said. Do you think it would work? I know my mom would be really disappointed in me, and I don't know if I can break her heart like that, Sarah said. Well, you will have to make a choice. It's either you break her heart or we lose our relationship. Your mother will always be your mother and she will always be there. But us? If your parents continue to persuade you to give up, it will only be a matter of time before you eventually give in. Think about this, my love, Larry said in a persuasive tone. Baby, you know I'll do anything for you and anything to keep us together. If I have to break my mother's heart to do that, then I will. Like you said, my mother will always be my mother, and I know that sooner or later, she will forgive me, Sarah said. So, should we do this? Are you sure it's what you want? Larry asked. Yes, if it's the only way to get you on my parents' side, then I'm ready, Sarah said. That's my baby, Larry said, and then he began to kiss Sarah passionately. That evening, Larry and Sarah made love passionately with the expectation that Sarah would get pregnant soon. Luckily for Sarah, after 2 weeks of constantly having sex with Larry, she took in. Babe! Sarah screamed excitedly. Come and take a look at this! She called Larry. That morning, Sarah had dipped a pregnancy test strip in her urine, and it showed 2 lines, an indication that she was pregnant. Wait, are you really pregnant? Larry asked excitedly as he looked at the pregnancy test strip. Yes, I am! We have finally done it! Sarah said. I'm so happy to see this. Hey, what do we do now? Will you go and tell your parents right away, or will you wait a few weeks? Larry asked. I think it would be wise to wait a few weeks for some of the symptoms to show. If I go now, my parents might not take me seriously, Sarah said. All right, let's wait 3 weeks and then you will break the news to them, Larry said. Just as Larry and Sarah had planned, Sarah waited 3 weeks before she told her parents the news of her pregnancy. No! That's not possible! The daughter I raised would never get pregnant for that riffraff you call your lover! Sarah's mother, Bola, yelled at Sarah in a teary voice. On the evening Sarah told her parents she was pregnant, Bola, her mother, broke into tears. Even though Sarah's heart broke at the sight of her mother's tears, She couldn't undo what she had done, and she was still determined to bring Lanre into the picture. I'm sorry, Mom. I'm sorry, Dad. It just happened, Sarah said.
Sarah, why did you choose to do this to yourself? You had a bright future ahead of you, and you decided to tie yourself down with a pregnancy.
Mr. Farah, Sarah's father, said in a disappointed tone. I'm sorry, Dad. I am, Sarah said.
Do you think I will tell you to abort this pregnancy? No, I can never do a thing like that. Since you have decided to do this to yourself, you must bear the consequences of your actions. Tell Lanre to bring his people so we can discuss your marriage,
Mr. Farah said.
Marriage?
Bola and Sarah asked in unison.
Yes, marriage. He impregnated her, so he has to marry her. I am not about to allow my daughter to become a single mother,
Mr. Farah said. Immediately Mr. Farah said that, Sarah's mother exploded in tears. I did everything to give you a good life and a bright future, but this is how you pay me back. Bola said in a teary voice. I'm sorry, Mom, Sarah said.
All right. If your father says you will get married, then I cannot counter that.
Bola said as she cleaned her tears. After Sarah had that complicated conversation with her parents, she returned to Lanre's apartment and told him how things had turned out.
Are you for real? Are we really getting married?
Lanre asked excitedly.
Yes! Please tell your parents so they can set a date to see my parents and discuss the marriage plans,
Sarah said.
This is unbelievable. I will talk to them tonight,
Lanre said excitedly. 2 days after Lanre told his parents that he had impregnated Sarah and her parents were asking to meet his family, Lanre's parents went to Sarah's house. Since Sarah's parents were unhappy about the whole situation, they went straight to the point and began to make plans for their wedding. After 2 months of planning their wedding, Sarah and Lanre eventually got married, and Sarah's parents gave them one of their houses. To ensure that their daughter would not suffer, Mr. Farah and Bola gifted Sarah a huge amount of money and even started a big business for Lanre. Even though Sarah's parents didn't exactly like Lanre, they still helped him set up a business because of their daughter and their unborn grandchild.
Babe, didn't I tell you things would work perfectly? If we had not gone ahead with that plan, your parents might have forced you to break up with me by now,
Lanre said one evening while watching a movie with Sarah.
Yes, you're right. Now, not only are we expecting a child, but we are married and we have our own house and a business,
Sarah said excitedly.
Yes, and I bet there are many more to come. That reminds me, I would like to eat pounded yam and egusi soup this evening,
Lanre said.
Okay, where do you want to order it?
Sarah asked.
Order what?
Lanre asked.
The pounded yam and egusi,
Sarah said, and then she paused.
Wait, were you expecting me to go and pound yam for you in this condition?
She added.
What condition? Are you the first woman to be pregnant? Look, Sarah, you are really beginning to get on my nerves, and I cannot tolerate it anymore.
Lanre yelled.
Lanre, you're yelling at me again?
Sarah said in a teary voice.
You promised the other time that you wouldn't yell again,
she added.
Why won't I yell at you when you are so annoying? You know what? It's obvious you do not want me in this house, so I will leave the house for you,
Lanre said, and then he grabbed the car keys and left the house.
Lanre, where are you going? Please come back. I'm sorry. I'm sorry,
Sarah said in a teary voice, but Lanre refused to return.
Oh Lord, what did I get myself into?
Sarah soliloquized and burst into tears. Sarah burst into tears because that wasn't the first time she and Larry had a disagreement, and she knew that he wouldn't return home that night. In the short time they had been married, Sarah realized that Larry was not exactly who she thought he was. He had serious anger issues, got easily irritated, and talked carelessly to her without caring about her feelings. Sometimes, if Larry and Sarah had a fight or a slight disagreement, Larry would leave the house for the night or even days. Thrice, Sarah tried to report Larry to his parents, but it turned out that Larry's parents were just like him. Instead of cautioning their son, they told Sarah to endure whatever she got from Larry while claiming that marriage was like that at times. The most heartbreaking part was that Sarah could not go to her parents to complain about Larry because they had warned her from the beginning. As Sarah had expected, Larry did not come home that night. In fact, he didn't even come home the next day.
Larry! Where do you think you're coming from?
Sarah yelled at Larry the minute he entered the house.
I called you several times and texted you, but you didn't pick up or return my calls!
Sarah yelled.
Sarah, is it me you are talking to in that tone?
Larry asked in shock.
Yes, I'm talking to you! Now answer my question!
Sarah said.
You must be very stupid to think that you can talk to me like that. Are your parents mad?
Larry growled.
It is your miserable, impoverished parents that are mad! Eh, Larry? So this is how you want to treat me?
Sarah said.
After everything I did for you? I don't even want to talk about the debitor letter I've been receiving. What did you do with all that money?
She added.
So, not only did you insult my parents, but you are now monitoring how much I spend?
Larry barked.
5 million naira in 2 days? What did you do with it?
Sarah yelled.
If you really want to know, I'll tell you. I went clubbing with some friends and I also went shopping for myself.
Larry answered rudely.
You went clubbing with your friends? Hey Larry, and you used 5 million naira in 2 days? Have you ever made that kind of money in your life? How do you think we will survive when you squander all the money on stupid things?
Sarah said.
Listen, woman, if I hear one more word from you, you will not like what I'll do to you.
Larry yelled.
What will you do? What will you do that you haven't done already? That money you spent was supposed to last us for at least 5 months. But you spent everything in 2 days.
Sarah said. While Sarah was yelling at Larry, she could see that he was fuming angrily, but she kept talking.
Didn't I tell you not to say another word to me? Eh? I will teach you a lesson today.
Larry said, and then he jumped on Sarah and gave her the beatings of her life, not minding her pregnancy.
I am your husband. You must have respect for me now. Are you hearing me? Have some respect for me. Stop it!
After Larry transferred his anger to Sarah, he realized that she was not moving. In the process of hitting her, Sarah had fainted.
Sarah, if this is a joke, please get up. I promise I will never touch you again.
Larry said as he shook Sarah's body in a panic. But Sarah did not respond. Unsure of what to do, Larry rushed Sarah to a nearby private hospital, and as soon as the doctors attended to her, he called her parents.
You foolish boy! What did you do to my daughter?
Sarah's mother, Bola, yelled at Larry as soon as she saw him.
I'm so sorry, ma. We had an argument. I was angry and then I pushed her.
Larry lied.
You did what? You pushed a pregnant woman?
Mr. Farah, Sarah's father, said.
We warned Sarah, but she did not listen. Now look at what has happened,
he added.
Look here, young man. If anything happens to my daughter or my grandchild, I assure you that you will be spending the rest of your life in jail,
Mr. Farah said. While Sarah's parents were yelling at Larry, one of the doctors who had attended to Sarah went to them and told them that Sarah and the baby were okay, but Sarah needed a lot of rest.
She's coming with us. I will not allow my only child to play with her life,
Sarah's mother, Bola, said. Luckily for Sarah, she was discharged that day and her parents forcefully took her back to their house. At first, after Sarah regained her consciousness, she was mad at Larry for hitting her until she fainted. But after spending some days at her parents' house, she began missing Larry and even blamed herself for the fight so her parents would let her return to her matrimonial home. Unknown to Sarah, returning home to Larry would mark the beginning of a miserable life, a life she had never expected. Watch out for part 3. Did you enjoy this story? Tell us your favorite part in the comment section below. Please like, share and subscribe to our channel. Also, do not forget to follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Thank you.